Now, as we know from even the original book that came with the box set in 1970, that even though it was supposed to wrap on January 31st, there were sessions held in February to cover some bases, recut the
I'm
down
interested in
vocal.
those. I'm interested in those. Those are a mystery to me to some degree. I mean, there's clues. I'd love to hear what you guys know about those.
Well, we know that John recut the vocal to "Don't Let Me Down," and maybe because what you alluded to earlier, that when they cut the master, they were a little slosh that day, and maybe he wanted to redo his vocal for that reason.
I see. So the "Don't Let Me Down" that we have in our movie, because we say this is a take that was used in the as the B-side. That's not the same vocal, is it?
Right. He recut the vocal, or they added on.
Well, you'll have to forgive me when you see the film and it says this is a take that they use on the B-side. Then I didn't realize that they changed the vocal.
It's mostly the master, yeah. But the thing that I thought was interesting was, number one, Paul knows this thing's on the horizon at the end of '68, and that's when he starts growing his beard out, when he's on vacation in Portugal with Hunter Davies and Linda, goes through the entire month with the beard on. As soon as he believes it's over, he shaves it off. So then when they've got those pictures that were taken of the add-on session. So I was wondering, was there footage of anything that came after January 31st?
I tell you what, I was looking at those photos the other day. I'm just going to get them quick. I've got an iPad here which has got stuff on. Let me.
And isn't it a script that Ringo has near his drum set?
I'll show you.
Magic Christian.
Well, he's got the Magic Christian script a lot. At times, he's sort of He hasn't. I mean, he hasn't read the script. Most of the conversations, as you probably know, he says I haven't read the script yet, or it keeps changing on me, so I haven't got down and read it all. I'm waiting till it's all finished or something before he reads it. Those photos. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, just a second. January '69. Okay, I'm going to answer your question actually. I mean, these are the photos. I know the ones that you're talking about are these ones here. They're those ones there.
Yes.
Yeah, and see Heather's there, so that gives you a clue that it's probably a Saturday or Sunday. Because having her there is probably not a school day. But.
And Dan, as you know, there was the surgery that George had, like the first.
George had the tonsils. Yeah, the tonsils.
What dates were those? Because George is in these photos.
It was after that. Well, or no, it was. I'm sorry.
Didn't he have the surgery like 6th or 7th of February, and then the session was like the 21st?
The session came after that. Yes, the session came after. Yeah,
because you've got John with the beginnings of his bed and beard.
Right.
But only the very beginning. Like he's only just been 2 or 3 days of beard growth there. It's not. That's about to become the big Montreal or the Amsterdam beard, isn't it?
Yes.
But I'll tell
March 1st, they're at Lady Mitchell Hall doing that Yoko thing. You see, it's a little bit more growth than you see there. So that dates into late February.
Sort of the second half of February.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It was February 7th was the surgery. February 7th was the tonsillectomy.
Okay. Sorry, just give me a second. Just bear with me.
I'm proud to say that
I'll show you a couple of interesting things in these photos. So you go through these photos. One is you see this one. Now, because to answer your question, one is there, as far as I'm aware, there is no film from those sessions. However, one of the photos has got Les Parrott, who's one of the camera operators of the Get Back sessions with a camera. Now, unless Ethan's got his photos muddled up and out of order, and this is a photo from January, this is in the middle of the February photos. You've got that picture there.
Is there any way of knowing from the background or anything where they're at? Because I believe that late February session was at Trident, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No. You see, now we're getting interesting. Now it gets very mysterious, because here is over Ringo's shoulder on the. Now you can't probably see this very well. That's in Savile Row. Believe me, it's Savile Row. Green carpet, the windows at the back of the same. That's Savile Row. Now it's not supposed to be Savile Row. I know it's supposed to be Trident. And the other thing that's weird is look behind George. There's an upright piano.
Yeah.
And there was in January. There's no upright piano in that room. There's the Bluthner and there's electric one and an organ or something, and there's no upright piano. So now an upright piano has been bought in for some reason or another. And I wondered if these were rehearsal sessions. You know, they were rehearsing prior to Trident. But then there's so many microphones and equipment and cables, and the cables are running through the doorway, up the corridor towards the control room. It's not like they've stripped the control room out yet.
No, but that was where they started the initial takes of "I Want You, She's So Heavy."
Yeah.
In February.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the finished master on Abbey Road.
We think you're saying we think it's a Trident, though, or because there's no record of the Abbey Road sessions, or is it? Am I wrong?
And the person to ask would be Jerry Hammock, but I know for certain the first half of the master of "I Want You, She's So Heavy" was tracked in February. I believe at Trident. And the second half was
Glenn Johns says he was in Los Angeles with the Steve Miller Band, came back. They gave him permission to come back to London for a few days to go to Trident to do "I Want You, She's So Heavy" then before he went back again.
Okay.
Now, Glenn said, I've spoken to Glenn, and he said, no, I was never in Savile Row. That was done at Trident. But if you look at this photo here, is Paul, if you zoom this photo up, that looks like Glenn Johns to me.
Oh, yeah.
Have you shown him this?
No, but I'm about to. I've only just spotted it. And there's also this photo, and that looks like Glenn Johns to me. Now that we're very familiar with the clothing after 4 years.
Yeah.
That blue shirt with the red trim, that is not a January shirt that Glenn Johns ever wears. You never see him in that particular bit of clothing in January. So
is that the apple green carpet?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's apple for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So now then I've got Glenn's. Glenn gave me his diary for '69. Well, it's a booking. It's not diary. It's like a sort of a booking thing.
Sure.
So this is all. I mean, you won't be able to see it all. This is January, and it's just Beatles all the way down to the month of January. But the month of February, he goes. So February starts February the 1st to USA. Steve Miller LP. 1st of February, 2nd of January, Sunday to San Francisco, 3rd of February, session 6 to 12. This is with Steve Miller in San Francisco by the looks of it. 4th session with Steve Miller, 5th session with Steve Miller. It goes on down here, and then he goes on the 13th of February. He goes traveling to London, cab to the airport. And San Francisco costs $14. And then you get to the 14th of February. Can you see these? And you get appointments in Apple.
Yeah.
Now that's not Trident. That's Apple.
The 22nd is Trident.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's these dates now. Those photographs where Glenn's sitting around in Apple must be one of these dates here.
Right.
So, and you'd probably look towards a Saturday or Sunday, probably, because it's got little Heather.
Yeah.
There, which would tend to be so. I mean, there's information, but there's no. But then there doesn't seem to be a single record of the Apple Studio. You know, they don't seem to be as organized as Abbey Road and have booking sheets. And I mean, there might be deep in the archives of Apple, they might have that stuff, but it hasn't appeared, and so we don't know what. But what are they doing there? You think they're doing well? I mean, the Mark Lewisham book and everything else is very clearly the next after the 1st of January, George has this thing, Glenn's in the States, they get together in Trident, which I guess is this one here. Trident is the what did we say it was? It was the Trident was 22nd Saturday. It was the Beatles from 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. in Trident. 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. in Trident. Wow. But there's about 4 or 5 sessions that seemingly look like they're at the Apple Studio prior to that.
Mm-hmm. And they could have been rehearsal, like you're saying.
Because you see, I've got this personal theory. Well, it's not a theory. I don't want to make it sound. I just have I wonder. I'll put it this way. I don't want to sound really like a dork. I mean, I just wonder whether or not the Get Back sessions were continuing, because it's. Is the 22nd of February at Trident, I Want You, She's So Heavy, is that the beginning of Abbey Road, or are they still working on Get Back?
they didn't have. I mean, they didn't have 14 new songs like you would assume they would.
They had 9. They had 9.
Yeah.
They had 9. January the 31st, they have 9 songs that are good enough to put onto an LP.
Right. So in February, maybe they're trying to tack on.
Yeah, and the songs, and I think, where's your Ringo song? Well, Octopus Garden is floating around. So could that be? Now, obviously, it wasn't in a finished state back in Savile Row, or well, in January, but it doesn't take long to work up a song like that, you know. And George was having his tonsils out. There was plenty of, and well, I mean, even though I guess technically Ringo was started filming, so it would have been hard for him to work on the song. But are they trying to do a Ringo song? Are they trying to do something? Because they've only got one George song. They've only got For You Blue by the time January comes to an end.
Right, because they never went back to I'm in Mine till the following year.
No, and Old Brown Shoe was around, but they didn't really...
yeah. So because you have to imagine that at least at some point post January there was still the concept of 12 or 14 songs, you know, 2 George songs, 1 Ringo song, or at least 1 Ringo vocal. You know, you've got to imagine that was still going to be the kind of pattern to a point, and then at some point it morphed into what it turned out to be, you know. And I think that some of these songs, like Something I Want You to See So Heavy, I would imagine they eventually decided, or not eventually, maybe quite quickly decided that, okay, they're fine for the Get Back, but they're still sticking with the no overdubs, no edit sort of rule.
Right.
And they thought, God, Something would sound fantastic if we could actually just do it the old-fashioned way with overdubs and extra instruments. And I Want You, She's So Heavy would sound fantastic if we could multi-track all the guitar to make it really, really heavy. So I just wonder if they persevered with those for a short time for Get Back, and then just thought, God, they would be so much better if we plastered extra tracks on them, and they sort of just absorbed those into the beginning of their next album. And Glenn was just left to sort of, well, you've got 9 songs, Glenn, get a few old rock and roll songs, get Save the Last Dance for Me, a few other things, and just take them on. I wonder if that's because I mean, Teddy Boy goes on to Glenn's album, even though Teddy Boy is not by any means a finished recording. It's a sort of a run through. It's like it's not even a rehearsal. It's just a run through. You know, and so Glenn uses so because Glenn Johns and Phil Spector had the same problem. They sort of ended up with sort of 9 songs, and they sort of always had 9 songs. And Glenn solved it his way, and then Phil Spector solved it his way by getting Across the Universe and I'm in Mine got recorded, and didn't he reprise Get Back at the end? Didn't he? Hasn't he got Get Back twice? So you see, Glenn and Phil Spector had the same problem, which of 99 songs, which they kind of solved in 2 different ways, which is sort of interesting, isn't it? But apart from that, I think there was a period. I wonder if there was a period where Get Back was gonna have a few of those I Want You, She's So Heavy, Octopus Garden, Something type songs, or maybe
Old Brown Shoe.
Yeah,
that's an organic song, and you've got your upright piano in the corner there. They could have.
Well, maybe that, because did that upright piano come in for a particular purpose? Did somebody say Old Brown Shoe would sound great on an upright piano, that the Bluthner sound isn't right for Old Brown Shoe? And George didn't like the Bluthner for You Blue. He wanted it all sort of dirtied up. Yeah, because he keeps, and so maybe George asked for the upright to come in, because they in those mysterious February sessions they were going to have a crack at Old Brown Shoe. Yeah, it could be, because that upright piano's there for a reason. I don't think it would have just been, well, what are we lacking in the studio? Well, it'd be nice to have an upright piano, which we don't know what we're going to use it for, but let's just bring one in. I think that came in because there was a particular purpose for it. Yeah, I mean, Old Brown Shoe would be certainly a contender for that, for sure. Yeah, and it would give you your second George song. So
right,
yeah,
something that didn't need the full production on it.
No,
till it did.
But you even hear at the end, and I happen to be listening to the 29th, so I guess the third from last day, earlier today, and you hear them. They're not just jamming on I Want You, She's So Heavy. They are actively trying to write it and make it into something. And even though, you know, it's, I mean, these sessions are 48 hours from being done, they are actively trying to write this new song.
Well, you see, the thing is that they might not be 48 hours from being done. That's the point.
True. That's true.
They're going to lose Glenn. He's got to be away on February the first. Now, I think they wait for Glyn to come back. Glyn, and look, well, put it this way: why does Glyn ask Steve Miller if he could have permission to go back to London, which I understand is what happened. That and he says, and Steve Miller let him go off for a week or two, because Glyn goes straight back to the States to finish off Steve Miller. He goes back to the States on the 23rd of February to Los Angeles. Steve Miller LP continued. Now, but you see, he only has one day at Trident, which is the 22nd. He arrives in London. I'm sorry about all these dates. It's always hard. I mean, I can email you this page. He arrives. His first day at Apple is the 14th. 15th is at Apple. 17th is at Apple. There's a missing day there. There's a 16th. He doesn't have anything. 18th Apple. 19th Apple. 20th Apple. 21st Apple. 22nd Trident. 23rd back to LA. Now, what was he doing at Apple during almost 6 days? Trident appears to be only one day.
Right.
So, and also, why did Glyn go to the trouble of saying to Steve Miller, I've got to go back to London. Do you mind if I go back to London to work with the Beatles for a while? Because he wouldn't do that if he just had the one day at Trident. He wouldn't go back a week earlier and muck around at Apple for that one day. He went back and started working at Apple by the looks of it, and then went back to Steve Miller as soon as he possibly could. But it looks like he's got about 6 or 7 busy days, of which only one of them is at Trident.
And what's interesting is that Glyn Johns was originally brought in to work on the soundtrack to the TV special and then handled the Get Back album. But at some point when it switched from being a concert that they were going for to, well, let's film ourselves making the album, George Martin is back to his normal role. And by the time of the Rooftop, he's certainly down there at the desk producing, is he not?
Yes. Well, I mean, they end up at Abbey Road Studios, don't they? You just rang a bell when you mentioned there's some. I mean, do you know? I should ask Glyn, or I should ask Michael. That's a question I've never asked. Did Glyn have any role to play in mixing the movie, mixing Let It Be? I mean, who mixed the sound for Let It Be?
Oh, the sound, yeah, for the film itself. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that off the top.